Adoption and expensive, two words that do not always belong together. There are 120,000 children in the United States that are waiting for a forever family, and adopting through this option is extremely affordable. I'm Marcy Bursack, an adoptive mom of a sibling pair, and also the author of The Forgotten Adoption Option. Twice monthly, I will interview people like adoptive parents and adopted children who have been touched by foster care adoption. My goal is to find more forever families and increase awareness about foster care adoption, because if it were you or me, we would want someone to do this for us. Welcome to the Forgotten Adoption Option podcast. My husband Nathan is back, helping to answer questions submitted by readers of my book, The Forgotten Adoption Option, and the Forgotten Adoption Option community on Facebook. Hi, Nathan.
Hey, Marcy.
That was a tongue twister. Forgotten Adoption Option.
Yeah, you did well.
I guess all that talking fast pays off. Oh, okay. Before we get started, I think our listeners would highly benefit knowing that, Nathan, you're an elementary art teacher. So if your answers have that special teacher touch, they know where you get it.
That's what I'm good at.
Okay. So we could kind of pretend this is a phone bank and we're taking calls. So let's just kind of have some fun with this, okay?
Sounds good. Phoebe, give us the first call.
He's pretending one of our dogs who can't actually hear can hear him. So let's see. Caller number 1. How do you decide which agency to partner with or to get licensed by?
That's a really good question. You have to think about what angle you're coming from. If you are a faith-based person, you might try a Christian approach or contact your church to see what options they might know of. The state is always an option as well if you're not a faith-based person. In our experience, we went through a faith-based organization that really worked well for us and our situation. So if you are looking for something, you just got to keep calling around and asking till you find what works best for you and your situation.
So I think this question is asked because, so you have our book, which is out there and it's helping people understand the need, and people go, okay, I want to help. And then this is the most complicated step because you don't know where to go. So I actually recently did some retooling on my website. And now if you go under begin at forgottenadoptionoption.com, I have gotten you straight to where your options are, because Nathan had some great ideas about contact church or friends or keep calling. And that sounds like, wow, I have to go through a lot of hoops to even get started. So hopefully what might get you a little bit of a faster path is if you click under begin, the very first link says find training, and it takes you to adoptuskids.org. So the Forgotten Adoption Option is our own view and experience of how to go through this government process. And as a result, we're guiding you to go figure this out. But the easiest place to start at adoptuskids.org, when you click on find training, is you can actually look up your state. The first thing you do is select territory, state, territory, or tribe, and you pick where you are, and then it gives you a list of applicable agencies in your state. And that's at least a great place to get started. There's phone numbers, there's contact information. So adoptuskids.org is your friend. So is forgottenadoptionoption.com. So hopefully that helps you get a little bit of your wheels spinning a lot faster. Okay, so caller number 2, back to our phone bank. How do you decide if you're equipped to parent children who have experienced trauma? And this person says, already having one biological child whom we've been able to control every aspect of his environment, I think we're second guessing our abilities. I know that sounds terrible, but that's where we're at. And I think one of the things that I love in hearing from people who are thinking about adopting through foster care is the common kind of remark of, I kind of feel bad asking this. And if that's you, it is okay, because there's a lot to think about and a lot of possibilities that might be scary. And so it is okay if you feel just like this person, that you know it sounds terrible, and that's okay. Like, just know that we will help and encourage and support you, and you're normal. So I'm thinking from my own perspective, how did I know that I was equipped? I don't know that I knew I was equipped. I think I knew that I was willing. And I'm thinking back, Nathan, to when you and I met our kids. We didn't really get to see any of their behaviors. And even when you read on a few paragraphs or inches of paper, like, it's only so much that's written, and you really have to hang out with the kids to understand. And I think what I knew is that we wanted to help, and somehow we would be able to lean on friends, family, our community, and ask for help when and if needed, which we have. And so I think I didn't know that I was equipped. I just knew that I knew how to ask for help, and I knew that it was safe to admit I didn't know what to do. And I think that's a lot of parenting, right? Like, you don't actually know how to parent. There's not like a degree in parenting. Maybe we should do that. Like, have a special, could you imagine if we had like universities where you got like your PhD in parenting? Like, there'd be so many different approaches. I'm totally being sarcastic here. Okay, Nathan, what's your answer to that? How do you know that you're equipped to parent children who have experienced trauma?
I have to agree with you about the being willing to do this. It's a choice. So you have to be willing to open your heart and to go through this experience. You can read every single book out there. You can take every single type of class and training on parenting and what to expect when you're expecting. But each child is different. They have their own personalities, and they come with their own invisible suitcase that you're going to help unpack over time. And really, it's having that loving heart and the attitude of willing to do it. And like I've said before many times, you don't have to be the perfect person to be the perfect parent.
I think you stole that.
I did steal it, but it's something...
From an advertisement.
From Adopt US Kids.
Just wanted to cite the source.
Yes, but I think it's a really good quote for people that are considering doing this whole process. Having a child biologically does prepare you for some things, but it may not prepare you for everything. So just be willing and open to work through things, and you'll eventually get through it.
It's basically just get on the roller coaster and
just be willing to get on the ride.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
I agree. All right, caller number 3. If you are adopting but not fostering, how long does the adoption process take? Once your home study is approved and you found a child you are interested in, before we answer this question, I want to clarify, because this language here is really important. If you're adopting but not fostering, you can get licensed to adopt children through foster care, and that's what we did. We got licensed to adopt. Or you can get licensed to become a foster parent, and then you might end up adopting that way, which is a different story. So this person specifically saying, I want to adopt children through foster care. So the question is, how long does the adoption process take once your home study is approved and you found a child you are interested in?
You could get a call pretty quick if everything's approved. I guess it's just a matter of getting matched with a potential child or children.
Do you remember how long it took us?
When everything finally got approved?
Yeah.
We got a call pretty quick.
So what I remember is we were looking at profiles, and I don't know how many so you get like this short profile, which is more like a paragraph, and it's a few sentences, and different social workers write them. So they're written a little bit differently, but essentially you get hair color and eye color and like a favorite toy. That's kind of what you get in a paragraph. And then for kids you're interested in, because you're licensed, you can ask for their what's called the long profile, which it's long, but sometimes long means 5 pages, and sometimes long means like
2 paragraphs.
No, it means like 30 or 50 pages. I remember reading through several profiles that were longer. And so it really depends on how you feel about, because basically requesting a long profile doesn't mean you're pursuing that child or those children. It just means you got more information. So sometimes we put our name in, and sometimes we were like, okay, now that we know what we know, there were different things that didn't click with those applications. So for us, man, I got to think about months here. So we were officially licensed, I think, in January, and I think this is in the book. We actually were one of 2 families that interviewed. It was pretty quick because we did some additional training, some elevated needs training, which meant like more intensive behavioral parenting classes, because there was an older set of kids and they just had some additional needs. So we took some classes, and so that made ours go longer. And so we interviewed pretty quickly in that. And the kids did get adopted by the other family, which was incredible. And there was an older son, and that was a better fit for those kiddos. But then we got a note that night, believe it or not, about our current children. And then we met our current children. They called us the following week on like Thursday. We met them on Saturday. They were 5 hours away. Our kids moved in the following week, Thursday. So we might have been licensed like a month or 2. So it really just depends on what you're matched with. But the children have to live with you legally, the way the process is written, for 6 months full time before you can go to court and adopt them. So even if you've been doing play dates or meeting at some like park for months, that doesn't count. They have to physically live with you for 6 months. So I know most people that go through foster care adoption, if they're looking through those profiles and they're interviewing and things like that, they're finding children rather quickly compared to maybe if you do the infant adoption route where you're having to make a home study and then be selected, be picked. So a few months, I guess, is the very, very short answer. It could be a few months or a few weeks.
6 months at the shortest.
Well, that's like if the kids move in day 1.
That's true. So
I'd say like 9 to 12 months.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Okay, we helped caller number 3. All right. Number 4, what's a good list of things to ask the child's social worker when considering if a child is a good fit for your family? And then how do you find out all the important vital stuff you need to know? And do they hide stuff from you? These are really good questions.
This is a really good question.
So what I'm hearing, just to disseminate some of this, is when you're pursuing a child or children who are in foster care, that child has a social worker that like knows a lot about that particular kid and their situation. So what are things you would ask the children's social worker when considering if a child is a good fit for your family?
I think asking just regular questions, get to know you questions about the children.
Like what?
Things that they like to do, ages.
Maybe you don't remember this because you weren't on the phone. So I got the phone call from our kid's social worker and the social worker's boss. So I could ask anything and everything I wanted to ask.
Okay. I was thinking more when we got to look at their case file.
We asked clarifying questions. Okay, so you're thinking during that time you're clarifying what you're reading in the file, which I would agree. What the social worker usually knows, depending upon how long he or she is in the role and has been with your kid or kids, they usually know the history of why the child's in care. They probably know the biological family because they're in different meetings, so they can share a lot with you in relation to what has happened.
Yeah. So you could ask background questions. You could also ask
about the other foster homes
foster homes they've lived in, if the children have experienced any sort of trauma that you need to be aware of. So hopefully the social worker has been with the children long enough that they know some of those background questions. Other
things you can ask the social worker would be things related to benefits. So we found out that there was like a clothing allowance that our state offered on a calendar year basis. So our social worker, the kid social worker, was able to share with us like, hey, this hasn't been used for this calendar year, but it has for that, or this much of it was. So they know different resources that the kids might already be connected to, or if they're eligible for those resources.
This was while they were in foster care.
Right, because for the 6 months that they're going to live with you, they're still going to be considered in foster care. So you do have access to certain things.
So some of the benefits are a little bit different. when they're still in foster care.
Right. Yeah, you don't get the clothing allowance once they're adopted, at least in Missouri.
Right. The other question talked about how do you find out about all the important vital stuff. The children usually have a large, depending on the situation, they have a case file. And you can request to see the case file.
You can't check it out like a library.
You can't check it out, and you can't make Xerox copies of the items. So there's that. However, you can ask for it and look at it as often as you want.
You can also ask questions.
And you can also ask lots of questions.
You and I, we still had to meet, because part of this process too is you have a social worker, like your licensing workers in your home, but then the kids' social worker, at least in our case, she came, or at least had a local person to us, came into our home. So we could ask them questions, and sometimes she knew the answer, and sometimes she had to find out the answer, but sometimes just asking a question about the biological background kind of like spun into other information she would share. So sometimes it was just us trying to figure things out. And those questions, an example would be like the race of our children. Like we were filling out paperwork to enroll them in school, and that was a question. We're like, we don't actually know what to check here.
Right.
So, and some of the health stuff, you can see kind of the files Nathan was talking about. You could see the medical records, so we could learn about allergies and medications and things like that by reading through those files.
Yeah, and some of them were more detailed than others about the family members. So you could find some medical history about the extended family, whether or not they're still alive. Also, possibly any sort of medical conditions that could be genetic, like heart issues, or family history of depression, or alcohol or drug abuse, things that are helpful for your children as they get older, because once they're adopted, you no longer have access to that file anymore.
And then the last part of the question is, do they hide stuff from you? So meaning, does the social workers hide things from you? I have not had that experience.
No.
I feel like they were forthcoming.
I would hope that if they are a good social worker, they're not gonna hide anything from you, because the last thing they want is the kid to go back into care.
However, a family that I know that is adopting a sibling group, they ran into some challenges where the social worker wasn't as forthcoming, and this was kind of the situation of, it's a group of 4 kids, they just wanted somewhere to place them quickly. They said yes, and then the social worker, I think, just kind of felt relieved and then didn't, and I laughed at felt relieved and kind of didn't give them resources and wasn't proactive about it. So the soon-to-be adoptive mom, she's been having to advocate and ask for and run after the things that she knows she needs and these kids need. So I don't know that the social worker is deliberately trying to hide the information from her, but it's not easy. And so in some situations, you do become the advocate for your children, which any parent is, right? Like, right. You're the voice for your child.
The questions. And sometimes it might not be a case where the social worker is trying to withhold information. They have a lot on their plate, and they might just forget the answer, forget to ask a question, or forget to tell you the information. So it may not be that they're intentionally trying to hide things from you. They might have just slipped their mind. A lot of these social workers have a lot of children that they have to take care of.
They have a large caseload.
Yes.
Sure. All right. Question 5. Between the time a child moves into your home to be adopted, not as a fostering family, but as an adoption-only family, and the official adoption day, are they allowed to call you mom and dad, or they have to wait until the adoption is official? Really great question, because this is real.
Yeah, it is. When our children first came to live with us, they called us Mr. Bursick, or Mr. Nathan. I'm called Mr. Bursick at school, but they called us Mr. Nathan and Mrs. Marcy.
But we had asked them. It was on the drive home. It was a long drive, and we had asked them what they would prefer to call us.
Yeah.
And they felt more comfortable.
And that was fine. And then over time, they eventually just started calling us mom and dad.
I was Mommy Marcy for a while.
Yeah, Mommy Marcy. Yeah, that was for a while.
So I think it really is dependent upon, in our situation, it was the child's comfort level that really guided.
Right.
When
and every situation could be different. You could have a child that doesn't ever call you mom or dad. We know some families where the child calls them by their first name.
Yep.
And
they always have.
And that works for their family. And some children, they might start calling you mommy and daddy right away. Or it might take months or however long. I don't think there's any sort of official rule out there that says that they have to wait till you're adopted to call you mom and dad.
No, but I do think it's important kind of stepping out of the officialness of that question and thinking through, as the adult in that scenario, I think it's important to be mindful of your heart. Like, I know that deep down in all of us, like, we want to feel connected, and being called mom or being called dad can make us feel like, oh, they want to be with me, or how exciting we're family. And if the child doesn't want to do that, like, it's not a blow to them loving you or wanting to be part of your family. Sometimes that's just kind of a process, and to meet the child where they are, I think, is really helpful.
Yeah.
To let them feel good about giving you a title that may have already been used by someone else in their lives, or they might just have a special name for you too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they could have special. Some families call important people an aunt or an uncle, and that could be something for you as well. Maybe the name mommy or daddy has negative symbolism for that child, and maybe being an aunt or an uncle would be a more positive name for a new adult or a more parent figure. So just kind of, we even know families that call grandma and grandpa, so there's that option as well.
Yeah.
So whatever works for the kid, I think, is probably best.
All right, and caller number 6. How long did you search for the right child before you found the one? So you're laughing.
I laugh only because of the word "the one." I didn't have a picture in my head of what the child or children were going to look like. I didn't have like a list written out.
No, but you were definitely like, I like these profiles with one little kid, or, oh, this little boy that we're doing respite care for, we should see if it falls through with his grandma. We should put her name in. And I was like, we were going for 2. And you're like, but this little guy is so great.
I got along really well with him. We had a good time.
He was fun. We had him twice. He was great.
And we did, and we had a good time. I liked him, and I hope he's still doing well.
I'm sure he is. He was doing an interstate adoption with a grandparent in Illinois, so our neighboring state.
And hopefully it worked out real well for him.
But for us, I'm trying to think of, as we went through profiles, I mean, there's a lot of reading, because you got to, like, weed through this information. I remember reading just pages and pages and pages of medical notes and behavioral notes and being like, oh my goodness, how do I decide? But I think you just kind of know, or you at least don't have a reason to not say, can I apply?
Right. Yeah.
And you also, I think, I wish I would have known in advance that just because you asked to be considered doesn't mean you're going to be invited, or even actually invited to interview or selected as the adoptive parent. And I think just to recognize that that's okay, and kind of already play. If I went back in time, I would go and I would pretend like I went and I applied and I wasn't picked, so I could just feel that and think ahead about how I would respond in that moment, and then also what it would be like to be picked, because there's a lot in there, because you're potentially offering to care for a child or children you may have never met, and you're making your almost like your interview answers, like you're trying to make a compelling case for yourself and for this child based upon what you're reading on paper, without any actual sight of said child. So it's a lot.
It is a lot. Marcy asked me when we were driving home after meeting our children for the first time, she asked the question, is there any reason why we would say no? And I stopped and thought, and I couldn't think of a good reason of why we would say no. So you do have that time period the 6 months that you're spending with this child or children, and you're getting to know them, you're getting to understand their behaviors, you're getting to learn about some of their experiences, you're getting to experience life with those children, and you're also deciding, is this a good fit for our family, your family? So those are all questions that you have to ask. Ultimately, I think, if you're a person of faith, God's going to show you the right child for you and your family. And if you're not a person of faith, check your heart, because you'll know.
I don't know if I knew, though. Like, I don't know that I could tell you, I knew when we read their profiles, I didn't feel that at all. I think
I didn't feel that way either from a profile, but I felt differently after experiencing some life with these children, that I felt that.
So it kind of got affirmed.
Yeah, I felt from a profile, I don't think that, but from getting to get to know the children and experience some life with them, and do some things that a normal family, what's expected of a family, what you would do with children, playing with them, taking them to the park, playing games with them, taking them to school, sharing meals with them. When you're experiencing life with them, you can see how it's going to work. So
what I'm hearing you say is the right one isn't necessarily something you can see on a piece of paper, or even that you would find out during the interview process. Like, you might not know that you're really compatible, or that this is family for you until you meet the child. So
right.
It might take some time.
It may take some time. And
which I think is compatible to, like, thinking about a dating relationship, right? Like,
and I that's what I did not want to compare it to, because it's a little child or
that's
children.
Fair. It's not the same sort of
It's
connection.
not the same kind of thing, but like, just like you would date someone, you are experiencing life with that person that you're dating, and you're trying to decide, is this somebody I could spend the rest of my life with?
Like a level of commitment. You're
like
trying
a
to
level
decide.
of commitment. And with the children, they're going to have their own experiences and their own little quirks, and I think it's a much more difficult decision, because it's a child. When you're in a dating relationship, you're dating another adult, and they have their own adult responsibilities. This is a child, so you got to make a really hard decision, tough decision, that this commitment's like, for the rest of your life, the rest of their life that you got with them. Like, you're still going to be a mom or a dad to these children. They're still going to look up to you when they're in their 20s, when they're in 30s, things like that. So it's not just for the time they spend in your home, it's for the rest of your life. And that's the commitment that you want to be willing to make.
All right. Well, we answered our 6 callers, which was, I hope, helpful for people. And if you have additional questions, maybe you're thinking about foster care adoption, or someone that is, we are more than happy to help point you and guide you and answer questions. You can ask more at the Forgotten Adoption Option community on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook as well. And I think that if nothing else, if you are someone that has already adopted through foster care, or someone, you now are equipped to share the information. So Nathan, thanks for coming back on.
Well, thanks for having me, Marcy. I'm super glad to be able to be a part of your podcast.
Again.
I don't know if you've had the same guest twice.
I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what happens in the future.
Well, thank you. I hope I get to do another Q&A sometime in the future.
Thanks. As a listener of the Forgotten Adoption Option podcast, you are helping raise awareness about foster care adoption and the 120,000 children who are waiting for a forever family. You can also help raise awareness by leaving a review, subscribing, sharing, talking about, and liking this podcast. If you'd like more information on adopting a child or sibling set through the foster care system, visit my website, ForgottenAdoptionOption.com. There you will find out how to get started, and you can even order a copy of my book, The Forgotten Adoption Option, which will guide you through the entire process, and it is available in paperback, audio, and ebook. I welcome you to reach out with questions, comments, and your own story. I would love to hear if you're signing up for training or where you are in the adoption process. You can connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Just search for Marcy Bursack. Thank you for tuning in, caring, and sharing, because every child deserves a family.